everyone, this is Dr. Shweta Patel. I'm doing today's Facebook Live on a very commonly asked question or a very common concern. Where did my sex drive go? Or why don't I have much of a sex drive? And this is definitely a topic that stirs up a little bit of, conflict in terms of what people think, and so I'm just going to preface this with this is my personal opinion and as well as professional opinion. I definitely don't intend to contradict anyone's personal opinions or to cause any concern or create any distress with these comments. My goal is always to empower you as a woman and to leave you feeling like you are equipped with information that will help create a more balanced life for you. And one of the important parts of our wellness is our sexual wellness. And a lot of women, I feel, actually really kind of beat themselves up over this because they feel like they are not as interested in having sex as their male counterparts or even their female friends, and it brings them down. It makes them think something is wrong with them, and it can be very frustrating and impact your relationship with your partner as well as other things, even your emotional and physical health. And I think that the biggest misconception we as women have is that there is something wrong with our lack of having the same level of sexual interest as our male partners. First and foremost, let's get that out of the way. We are not equipped for it. If you were to actually look at our testosterone levels, which is the main hormone that actually drives a woman's libido. And it's not the only hormone, but when we're talking feeling that urge to want to have sex, that comes primarily from testosterone. And that's one of the ways that I actually help women improve their sex drive, chemically speaking, by actually giving them hormone pellets with testosterone only. Thank you everyone for checking in, loving all the people that are tuning into this. So when you compare a woman's testosterone to a man's testosterone, it's almost 10 times higher. Our average level can be anywhere in a woman who is not menopausal. A woman's average testosterone level can be anywhere from 30 to 100, the average being about 50. And for men, the average is 500, and that's kind of underplaying it. Typically it can be as high as 2,000. So when you think of that, it's like trying to say, why can't I drive as fast as a race car and you are a manually driven bicycle? So with that being said, it's not your fault and there's nothing wrong with you, okay? And there is scientifically, the reason why we even have that little bit of testosterone is for that reason, to drive the human species, basically, because we need to at least have a little bit of a mojo in order to keep procreating. Part of the reason why when we hit menopause, what residual testosterone you had also tanks, and so most women experience like their sex drive is gone in menopause. But I beg to differ. I say you really didn't have an extreme sex drive to begin with. Most women have more of a, what I call the sex shotgun seat, not so much the sex driver's seat. We're usually receptive. We're more motivated in having sex when we are in our non-menopausal years. And I know this is a little, it's like, whoa, did she just say that? I have a sex drive. I don't know what Dr. Patel is talking about, but it's true. We're more motivated and driven to have sex. And then as we get older, our hormones decline, but I actually believe that the reason we're less driven to have sex is because life happens. Most of us end up being in a relationship with a monogamous partner, not all, but we become a little less motivated to keep things hot and spicy. I mean, if there's a Hallmark movie marathon on, game is over. And, you know, count in the fact that you have things like children, job, bills to pay. Heck, if the laundry hasn't been folded. As women, we are turned on cerebrally. And I think that often gets missed or lost in translation, is that our sex drive doesn't come from our hormonal drive or our, you know, female pelvic structures. I think sex for us starts here. And so if you're wondering where your sex drive went, think about what changed in your life over the past few months or years. If you're thinking, well, I used to really enjoy having sex with my boyfriend or husband or partner when we were first dating, when you were first dating, maybe you guys didn't have as many responsibilities. You were more motivated to please each other. Let's get real. Things get comfortable and people get busy, and suddenly you've seen each other, poop and pee, and it's not as awesome as it started out. But that doesn't necessarily mean something is chemically unbalanced with you. It is truly starting up here, and our head's not in the game. And so the first way I recommend fixing or relocating your sex drive is trying to figure out where in your life you are feeling more preoccupied, where you feel like sex is not as important or a priority to you. And then the other part that I like to remind my patients is it's also about arousal. Now, if I told you to go to the gym every single day and then said you may or may not lose weight, heck, you might not even look like you're going to the gym, how many of you would actually keep going? Okay, some of you might, because I know some of you, I have some pretty overzealous exercisers, some who love to run, and the Pelotoners. But aside from those, most of us would not continue to do something if we don't gain something out of it. And yes, I'm referring exactly to having an orgasm. For a woman, having an orgasm is not a given. And I really hope some men have tuned into this, because this is something that sometimes shocks them. We don't always finish. Heck, we don't always even start. And so if you are not likely to have an orgasm because of whatever reason, be it that you're cerebrally not in the game, or your arousal game with your partner is not that great, or you don't have enough time, or you do have a medical condition or are on medications, whatever the reason, if you're not likely to have an orgasm, or even slightly likely, the chances that you're going to want to actually be receptive to sex are going to go down, right? So the first way to fix your drive, outside of figuring out what else is preoccupying you, or what else is going on in life that might be preoccupying you, is to remember how it's enjoyable again, to remind yourself of what is actually going to be in it for you. And that might be a partner conversation, because if you start to have more climaxes each time you're having sex, or even having climaxes when you're having sex, then you're more likely to be receptive, even if it's one of those times where you're not necessarily in the mood. And then the other part would be making sure that you are actually, it's comfortable, not just enjoyable, but let's make sure that it's not painful. And often women think that when you get older, you might have lubrication problems. Not necessarily the case. Think about it right now. I'm doing this Facebook Live and my mouth is turning dry because I have not been drinking as much water as I preach. If our mouth can get dry, what other parts of our body where we have, stuff that is kind of like saliva can get dry? If you're not hydrating, your vagina, your lubrication is going to be impacted. It's not an essential body fluid. And so you probably don't realize that drinking that extra glass of wine and not having that extra glass of water is affecting your lubrication. It doesn't mean you're hitting menopause or that you are hormonally imbalanced. The other part is it's okay to use lubrication. If you are 20 or if you're 65, it doesn't matter. Sex will be more comfortable with lubricant, and if you're not producing it as much, then using some is not cheating. In fact, I personally don't go without it. And other little things that we don't realize. If you're having sex in a room with a fan on, things will get dry pretty quickly. So small little tweaks can actually make a huge difference. But I think that for women, really think about what is it that's affecting you here. Because if you're not feeling great about your weight, if you're not feeling great about your relationship, if you're not feeling great about any to-do list ad nauseum, then you're not going to be an assertive sex partner, least of all a receptive sex partner. I think I said that backwards, but you get what I mean. And so if there is something going on, addressing that will probably be where you will have your most success, I guess you can say. But not having a sex drive or having a less of a sex drive doesn't necessarily always mean that there is something wrong with you. Okay, now that I've gotten that off my chest and have made sure that everyone knows that it's okay to not be interested in having sex, but it's so much better when you are. And things that you can do to actually improve your sex life, definitely exercise, definitely hydrating, and having open conversations with your partner about what you enjoy, because it can take a woman a very long time if the person who's trying to get her there doesn't have the right directions, and then playing the whole guess what I'm thinking game isn't always the best way to go. I also think that using self-exploration is a great way to get into the habit of knowing how to generate an orgasm. You kind of have to know how to get there yourself. And one of the tools that I often recommend in my office, and I'm sure some of you can attest, I really swear by this one sex toy called the Lilo. It was actually recommended to me by one of my former OBGYN partners, and it is a clitoral stimulator, and you can go online and look it up. I do not have any stock in the company, and I'm not getting any kickbacks other than the sheer joy of knowing that my patients are getting off because of my recommendation. And the way it works is that it causes clitoral stimulation at a RPM that is not possible by a human mouth. Try it. You'll like it. So that's all for today. To summarize, having a sex drive is not a given for every woman. Having a less of a sex drive doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. There are ways that you can improve your sex drive just organically. If you are wanting to dial up the volume on it, and really, if you want the easy button, talk to your doctor about trying out a testosterone hormone pellet. It is safe to use, and it is not linked with any kind of risk for cancer like estrogen, common misconception. And it can definitely dial it up without having to do any of the extra legwork. And the other little mention I wanted to make was that we have voted on the Gaya logo. We're actually going to go with the one that is on the right, which is the white logo. And I can't say thank you again enough for all of you who have played an integral role in helping make that decision. And more updates to come on the telehealth platform being launched. It's going to actually happen sooner than I thought, and which means free telehealth coming your way soon. And to get more updates on all of this, make sure you hit follow on my Facebook page and on the Gaya Women's Wellness Instagram page, and tune into our lives. Thanks, everyone. See you guys next on Wednesday.